Welcome, beautiful people of all ages, shapes, and colors, to another episode of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, where we encourage you to stick to your basics. I'm your only host TV, aka TV on basketball. I'm not alongside my co-host Jay, aka the Knockdown Jay. Super busy this week. Our schedules is day on the line. So today, I am going to be doing a solo episode. Yes, I haven't done this in a couple years. If you remember, if any of you guys were here from the TV on basketball podcast, I used to do this like multiple times a week, maybe once a week. But now, this is my first time doing an episode by myself. It feels really weird. I have no Jay to kind of bounce off ideas from, but I had to talk about the NBA Finals. I had to talk about the Desmond Bane trade, which we're going to be talking about today. And of course, there's still a lot of stuff around the NBA draft, so I'm going to be giving you guys two prospects today. I want to make up for Jay at some point, so I'm going to be making it up by doing two prospects today instead of one. Still going to be a great episode. I'm going to be doing just a lot of solo stuff here, so maybe it might not be as long, but we're going to hit a good amount of topics, especially because more than likely in the next episode, we're going to be talking about a new NBA champion. So it's going to be a great episode. Going to be trying to recap through the last few games that me and Jay did not discuss in the last episode. And yeah, should be a really good episode nonetheless, even though it's by myself. I'm sorry again that Jay cannot be here, but we're here for a good episode. So we're going to get right into that pretty soon. But before I do that, I do have to plug our socials. Make sure you follow my individual social at TV on Basketball. Alongside, Jay. Check out the Knockdown Jay or the Routine Jumper. Those links will be found in the description down below. In terms of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram for the best NBA content when it comes to news, when it comes to these NBA Finals game recaps, all the clips and everything like that. You should check that out on the TikTok and Instagram. In terms of the podcast networks, remember to review and to subscribe and review on all the podcast networks, Spotify and Apple. We appreciate all of y'all's support. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode. But yeah, we got through all of the plugging in. We're going to have a great episode today. Again, just me by myself. But there's a lot to talk about still because the last two games of the NBA Finals happened, and that's where we're going to start. Because right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 3-2 up. They are one game away from the NBA Finals, especially after the game on Monday night where it was a very back and forth game. I'm going to go into a bit more depth, but we definitely, the trading of punches. The Indiana Pacers will not stay down, but that final punch from the Thunder, man, that feels like the story of the series. And we're going to go through a lot of that here too. And over these last two games, because at some point, if you really look at these like game 3 to game 5, up until maybe the game 4, fourth quarter, it felt like, man, this series is completely flipped, where we're playing Pacers basketball instead of Thunder basketball. The Thunder don't look like themselves. They look tired. But now, just in a span of 5 quarters, that whole narrative has switched. Now it's like, oh, can the Pacers find any sort of replacement for Tyrese Haliburton because we don't know about his injury issues? Man, this Thunder team looks unstoppable once again. It's so crazy in a series like this, and it makes sense in the NBA Finals. But the narrative just switches on a quarter-to-quarter basis, and this is what I love, man. The chess game, in-game adjustments, the type of stuff that they have to alter from game to game. That's what I love to see, and this is where we're going to start here. And we're going to start with the Thunder because, yes, they did take the 3-2 series lead. It looked like it was going to be a 3-1 series lead after 3 quarters of that fourth game, but they showed resilience, they showed fight, and they were able to pull through. But one of the things I want to talk about, especially with the OKC Thunder, man, and there's a lot of places to go with, but the number one guy I wanted to discuss here is Jalen Williams. Because if you remember some of the episodes that me and Jay talked about over the last couple of series, I think more than likely the focus was on the Denver series with this one. But Jalen Williams, we're questioning, you know what? Yes, the Thunder are playing well. Yes, they're facing off against, the other MVP candidate, Nikola Jokic. But where is that number 2 going to come from for SGA? Because SGA has been phenomenal all playoffs long. Maybe a hiccup here and there, but he has been phenomenal. And we were like, is Jalen Williams the number 2 guy? And this is what I'm talking about narratives, where I remember this narrative being talked about, and this was only like a month ago when they were facing Denver. But man, over these last 2 games especially, I mean, he's had a great finals. But in terms of this these last 2 games specifically, Jalen Williams has played the perfect role of the Robin. At some points, he was the reason why they were able to stay in these games when you look at game 4 and them trying to stay within striking distance. Or even in this game where he was the number 1 option. I'm going to give you guys some stats. Over these last 3 games, we had Jalen Williams go for 31 points a game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Jalen Williams. This is putting up superstar level numbers, all NBA level numbers. I mean, he was on the All NBA teams. But this is what we mean by wanting to have that second option. That when Shea is not being the number one guy, you have someone to fall your back on. And Jalen Williams has been that release valve. 50% from the field. He has been scoring on all three levels, whether it's attacking the paint because no one can guard Jalen Williams in the paint, whether it's the turnaround jumpers, which I've seen multiple times, especially in that game 5. It was absolutely beautiful. He's still shooting the three ball pretty well, 4 for 10 over these last 2 games. But I'm glad that's just not the focus. He's a good 3-point shooter, but his biggest worth is attacking the rim, operating in a mid-range area, as we see throughout the entire regular season. And of course, 80% for the free throw line. Jalen Williams being able to go to him. And we talk about how Pascal Siakam, he is kind of the biggest X factor. Not really X factor, but like the one player on the Pacers where you're like, okay, he's the one who's going to create the mismatches. He is the most dynamic player in terms of, okay, we don't know who the one-on-one matchup is for Siakam is on the Thunder. Jalen Williams might be too small. Chad Holmgren might be too slow. So that would be the dynamic factor of Pascal Siakam. Jalen Williams, when you look up and down this Pacer roster, and I think we didn't put enough emphasis on this, but who's really going to guard him? He's too fast for Pascal Siakam. He can shoot. He can shoot right over him. He's not like the shortest guy in the world. He's too fast for like the Obi Toppins. He's too fast for the Miles Turners, all those type of guys. And he's proven to be the guy to be the ultimate mismatch on the other end. Like, he was getting everything he wanted in that Game 5. And, man, it was a joy to watch. Seeing him, yes, Shai Alexander was doing his thing. Honestly, I'm just glad he was focused on being more of the playmaker in Game 5. But seeing that type of performance, a 40-point performance, I think the 5th or 6th youngest in playoff and finals history. I literally saw a list earlier this morning, and it was all Hall of Famers. So Jalen Williams is in some nice company for sure. But he played fantastic. He also played really well in Game 4, to be completely honest, because when Shai wasn't being Shai through the first 3 quarters, you needed players to really keep the scorebook running. And it was Jalen Williams for the majority of the game. I think he had like 27 points by the fourth quarter. And it was Alex Caruso, who I'm going to go into a bit later. But Jalen Williams, over these last 2 games, has showed real like top 20, top 15 NBA, talent level sort of thing. And you could see this with Jalen Brown last year when the Celtics won the championship. I feel like we're getting that moment here with Jalen Williams. I don't know if he's going to win Finals MVP. I know that that's a discussion that people are having. But he is making it so it's at least a little bit of a competition. He's been great, though. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's a huge reason why the script was able to flip. But at the same time, as much as how good Jalen Williams has been, scoring on all 3 levels, 3-point shooting, the defending, the defense is always going to be there with J-Dub. He has been absolutely phenomenal this finals. But the most important player is still Shai Alexander. I don't want to take anything away from him. He is the MVP for a reason. And we are not just going to disrespect what he has done throughout this playoff run. I think he's only had like 1 game in this finals where he scored, I think, like under like 32 points or something, which is absolutely ridiculous. But in these finals so far, and again, I'm going to give you the stats here. He is for me the finals MVP, especially if they win in the next game as well. 32 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 47% from the field, and hasn't been shooting the 3-ball fantastic at 30%. Obviously, he's going to hit his free throws, 92% at the free throw line. But 2.5 steals, 2 blocks. This is what I love about Shai, man. And we didn't give him enough time in the last episode, but bro, just seeing him perform at the highest level, whether it's just him getting to his spots, like he's gone to that point where, with some of the best players of all time or the top players in the league, where you just know where their spots are on the court. When you think of a player, you just know where they're shooting from, and you just know that every time they get that shot off, whenever they get to their spots, it's always cash. And that's why I see with Shai Alexander, especially when you look into that Game 4 performance. Like, in that fourth quarter, I think he scored like the last 15 of the last 15 and 16 of the Thunder points. This guy was getting into the mid-range area. This guy was being shifty in the paint. And he hit like one of the very few 3-pointers that the Thunder hit in that game. I think they had a total of 3 for 17, which is absolutely crazy in today's day and age. But he hit one of them in the fourth quarter, and that was an absolutely huge bucket. A big reason why the Pacers looked like they had control of the game over 3 quarters, but Shai was able to turn it around. And his last minute heroics, the last few minute heroics was why the Thunder were able to turn that game around and basically steal one on the road. Shea was phenomenal. And yeah, those two guys, they like them, him and Jalen Williams, they're the ones who are gonna have the biggest talking points. 100% they get the respect. These two have looked like, obviously you don't want to say Jordan and Scotty, but they're having a Jordan and Scotty-esque performance. I mean, when you look at these two series, Jalen Williams, when you look at the whole final, is averaging like 25, 26 points a game on pretty good efficiency. I mean, not as great as it was in the last 3 games, but they'll definitely go up, after game 6 or game 7. Shea, playing with the MVP the entire series, he's been fantastic. But yeah, even though like these two guys were the biggest, headline grabbers, these were the two best players on the court for sure. Obviously, it's a team effort with the Thunder. And one of the biggest things you have to talk about here is the defense, especially in that lineup when you have both Dort and Caruso to start, and at the same time, bro. When you watch like in that 5th game after Siakam hits that 3 to cut it down to 2, by the way, like the Pacers have the momentum. Yes, Tyrese Halliburton was playing horrible, but they were right there. The Pacers were still giving themselves a chance. There were like 4 or 5 possessions in a row where they just had turnovers. And it was Alex Caruso who just tipped at the perfect place, grabbed the ball, started a fast break. Lou Dort hitting threes, him playing hard on the defensive end. Like, they just make things so uncomfortable for the Indiana Pacers. And early on in the series, there were times where I think I talked about it when we talked about how Tyrese Halliburton wasn't able to touch the paint. In game 5, it felt like the Pacers weren't able to go inside the 3-point line without there being a tip pass or the ball being ripped away from them. That's how suffocating this Thunder defense has been. And the secret sauce was literally just adding Alex Caruso into this lineup with Lou Dort. When you have those guys on the perimeter, 2 of some of the best perimeter defenders in the league, it's terrifying. They're absolutely swarming. And then you mix in the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. You have the Chet Holmgren. And you could throw someone in like, and of course J-Dub, who had a fantastic offensive performance, but we can't take away how good he was defensively. When you have those guys performing at the highest level on the offensive end, J-Dub and then Shea, you have the defense playing as hard the way it is. You have threes raining in from Aaron Wiggins and Cason Wallace. By the way, Aaron Wiggins, we talked about how great he was in the game 2 performance. Big time in that game 5 game where he had like 4 or 5 threes as well. Cason Wallace hit 3 threes. But yeah, no, those guys stepping in when they absolutely need it. Like, being able to go toe for toe with the Pacers bench, absolutely massive, absolutely massive. And their runs, unlike teams like the Warriors that we've seen in the past, teams that we've seen like the Boston Celtics, where they just go on these absolute heaters from downtown, like who can like easily turn a 5-point lead into an 18-point lead just like that. The Thunder, when you know that their runs are coming, they're forcing turnovers. It looks like they're a swarm of bees heading towards the perimeter players of the Indiana Pacers. Like, TJ McConnell had a great game, but the minute he got taken out and Tyrese Halliburton and Andrew Nembhard came in, it was a living hell for them. It was absolutely a living hell. But yeah, just great performances there. I like the fact that they're able to go back to the 2 big lineup in Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren, which, again, me and Jay talked about in the last episode, that they didn't even like give them a chance to really do it. But now, they started with the 2 of them. I love to see that Isaiah Hartenstein's playmaking, especially early in the game 5. Chet having great defense all around. It was good. And again, you got to just shout the Thunder for this whole turnaround, because I'm going to talk about the Pacers soon, because they played well for like the first 7 quarters of like these last 3 games, but these last 5 quarters, it was all Thunder. It was the Thunder's game to win. It was the Thunder's game to lose, and the fact that they were able to take that momentum, all that the stuff that was going against them, and completely turn it around, and now they're 1 game away from an NBA Finals. Shout out to the Thunder. They've completely turned things around in the span of a game. They obviously got I wouldn't say lucky, but they were able to steal one again in game 4. And now it looks like they have full control here over the Indiana Pacers going into Game 6. Yes, it's on the road at Indiana. That place is going to be rocking. They know they're going to try and fight this team to victory. Help will this Pacer team to victory. But the Thunder figure something out, man. And this defense, I don't know especially if Tyrese Halliburton is injured, if they're able to overcome it. Let's talk about the Pacers though. I think they've shown here in these last 3 games, they're never out of it. Game 3, shout out to them. They completely played Pacers-style basketball. Yes, the Thunder went off to a great start, but the Pacers were just able to finally get into the flow of that offense, get into the paint, and actually spray it out to guys on the perimeter. That was when Tyrese Halliburton had his like near triple double, 22, 9, and 10. Pascal Siakam having a big game. This is where you had, and I didn't know we didn't get to talk about this in the last episode, but we talked about it, in the post game recap. The fact that these guys, where you have a big Ben Mathurin game, two big TJ McConnell games, just a big time performance up and down the Spacer roster. And the thing is, like, it feels like they're never out of it. Even when someone like Tyrese Halliburton is playing as bad as he is, and I'm gonna go to Tyrese Halliburton very quick, pretty soon. But with this Pacer team in general, like the way I look at them and like what happened in the last few games, I just know that someone else will produce. We had in TJ McConnell that amazing third quarter. Pascal Siakam started the fourth quarter great in game 4, in game 5. We know that Mount Center can have his moments. Ben Mathurin is just a walking firecracker waiting to happen. Andrew Nembhard, I know he hasn't had the best like last 2 games, but you know that he can go off at any time. He's had some big games in the playoffs. Someone else is gonna produce. It's to the point now we just have to ask what Tyrese Halliburton produce. And this is where we're gonna go into the injury. Game 5. Yes, we know that he's been dealing with a calf injury throughout most of this series. But the big thing here was that in the first half, he stumbled to the floor. You could tell that, something just happened there in the calf. And unlike some of the other falls that Tyrese Halliburton had to go through, you could tell that he was extra grimacing in that one. Like, you could tell that, like, something re-aggravated. Something in that calf got re-aggravated. And it got to the point where, yes, Tyrese Halliburton did play the rest of the game. Maybe he was on short minutes for sure, but he did play the rest of the game. But he couldn't even be the primary ball handler for the Indiana Pacers. It felt like every time he was on the floor, everything just kind of slowed down. And you could tell with, like, the silly turnovers, the times that he had to just completely just go to Andrew Nembhard or Pascal Siakam right away. Tyrese Halliburton couldn't run the offense. He couldn't. And yes, the injury is hurting him. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to go into the whole, is he a superstar, is he not a superstar? I feel like that's not a conversation to have, as like in this type of series. Like, we know what Tyrese Halliburton is as a player. We know how he can come up in big time. One of the best playmakers in the league. But here's my problem with what Tyrese, and like the way Tyrese Halliburton plays, in a sense, is we know he's going to come up huge. We've seen him have like massive performances. Look at the Knicks triple-double game. Look at this 22, 9, and 10 game that he had in game 3. But Tyrese Halliburton just plays so much within the offense, and he excels so much in this offense that it feels like he doesn't, insert his make his change within the game. He plays extremely well when healthy within the flow of the offense. That's why he's such a good floor general and why he's so good at running this offense. But in a game like this, where Tyrese Halliburton in game 5, 0 field goals, 4 or 3 points, like, it was a horrendous fouls game. Whether he's hurt or not, he was on the court, he did not produce. He was almost a non-factor in this game. But seeing him just completely flustered out there, being reduced to just standing out on the perimeter, maybe take an occasional 3 here and there, but he just did not look comfortable at all. That's not good to see from your superstar player. This is not what you want to see from someone who, yes, he was a big part of you winning so many of these games leading up to the finals, but you need someone to really kind of take over games at some point. You need someone to not only take over, but like be kind of like, I'm taking the ship now. I'm running this wheel. And Tyrese Halliburton has not been able to do that in these last couple games. I mean, he did for like the first 3 quarters in game 4, but didn't do much in the game 5 in the game 4 fourth quarter. Absolutely invisible in game 5. Like, these are the type of moments, whether he's healthy or not. If you're on the court, you're able to play. And at the end of the day, Tyrese Halliburton just didn't deliver. He's been holding his own on the defensive end. When you look at the stats, it's nothing that's going to shock you off the page. And like the biggest thing you can think of him from this game, from the series, is obviously the game 3 and also the game winner in game 1. But you got to ask, like, we can't be asking the question, especially this deep into the NBA Finals, will Tyrese Halliburton produce in this game? Because at this point, TJ McConnell, Pascal Siakam, we know that you're going to get enough from the other guys. Are you going to get enough from Tyrese Halliburton? And that's what sucks about the fact here, is that this is your all-star, all-NBA level player, and he's your point guard, the star point guard of your team. It's just like, where are you gonna get which version of Tyrese Halliburton? And unfortunately, we have to be asking that question. Yeah, I mean, like, what sucks about this too is that they're gonna have an MRI tomorrow, and or today, and that's what's gonna determine like how they're gonna go moving forward. Is Tyrese Halliburton gonna play in Game 6 or not? We're gonna have to wait and see. But if he's gonna play, he's gonna have to like just put everything out there. This is your last shot. You made it to the finals. You made it this far. You've had a fantastic run, and I'm not taking anything from the Pacers. But Tyrese Halliburton, if you're gonna be able to play on this court, you're gonna have to just put it all out there, man. Win or lose, just say that you like put in your max effort. I feel like Tyrese Halliburton, even at the end of the last game, he said like, you know what, I didn't play well. I could have done more. He basically said that, and that's what I expect from him going, like at least going into these Game 6 and possibly into Game 7. Even if he's injured, if he's playing, give whatever best shot you have left, because you're gonna have an off season to recover. Obviously, you don't want to re-aggravate it, of course, but you're gonna have to put whatever is there left, because this is the NBA Finals. This is probably your best and closest chance to get to an NBA Finals. We've seen over the last couple of years that we see teams that maybe could repeat, could maybe go to the NBA Finals back to back. We don't see that very often in this NBA. Things are always changing too much. So take advantage when you can. If Tyrese Halliburton you're playing, give it all your best shot. Other things I noticed from the Pacers. Of course, we got the good or bad Mather, and that's another thing I want to talk about. I mean, he had a great Game 3. He was awesome. 27 points, 22 minutes. Game 4, missed all those free throws at the end to keep it close. That wasn't great. Game 5, you just get like one of those like bad Ben Mathurin games. Yes, he was able to hit a couple buckets for sure, but at the end of the day, like when you have Mathurin finishing with 6 points, 6 points on pretty bad percentages, not playing great in the defensive end, that's not the Ben Mathurin you want to see. I mean, what's Pascal Siakam? That's another thing I want to get to in this here. Some of my notes here. Pascal Siakam, he was great to start the fourth quarter. I know Rick Carlisle likes to take him in the middle of the fourth quarter and put him in like the final 3 minutes. I wouldn't have removed him there, especially because he was your best offensive option. He was helping you close the lead there, and then you took him out. Not a big fan of that. And sometimes, especially when you got to look at your roster, I know Tyrese Halliburton's hurt, but you got to adjust for that. Pascal Siakam should have stayed in this game. I'm not going to say that the Pacers would have won. I mean, Pascal Siakam had some bad turnovers, especially in that first quarter. But there's going to need to be some sort of change there. There's going to have to have some sort of taker of the rotation because of the ailment that is hurting Tyrese Halliburton. Other things here, the losing Game 4 sucks, obviously. They had full control of Game 4. And then this is another thing I want to talk about, because I was watching this game from a bar, having a great time. And for most of this game, I'm like, oh my gosh, the Pacers are about to go 3-1 up in the NBA Finals. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thought that was going to happen, right? And when I saw the Thunder coming back in that game, and this is going to be like the pinpoint game, if the Thunder win in Game 6 or in Game 7, we're going to look back in the series and think, man, they let Game 4 get away. The Pacers let Game 4 get away. And, this goes back to the fact that Pascal Siakam barely touched the ball in the fourth quarter. Tyrese Halliburton could not make his presence known. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just went into MVP mode and just hit every single shot possible in the final 4 minutes. Yes, the Thunder, worked their ass off to get to that point. But the Pacers, when you look at each game of the series and how much each point matters, you're going to look at Game 4 and be like, man, that's the one we let get away. Because this whole conversation would be completely different. If they won Game 4, sure, they might have lost Game 5. But you have a Game 6 going back at home. And with the way your role players are playing at home, Ben Mathurin, TJ McConnell, all these guys, the way that they're able to take their game to the next level at home, you would give yourselves a decent chance. But you let that game get away from you. You have the Thunder just absolutely obliterate you on the, you can't be able to guard the Thunder in that Game 5. Now you're 3-2 down when it could be 3-2 in your favor. Maybe you would have won Game 5 because of the momentum being all in your favor. Who knows? But that Game 4, we're going to look at it going forward and be like, man, that's a game they let get away. That's 100% the game they let get away. And this is a game where they didn't out-rebound the Thunder, but they dominated the 3-point battle. The Thunder only had 11 assists. The Thunder looked vulnerable for 3 quarters. They didn't look like themselves. And yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was just the best player on the court. J-Dub kept them in it. Alex Caruso, 20 points in that one, big time. They should have had that. They should have had that. You know the bench is going to be there. I know you can never count this team out. I wouldn't be surprised if they win Game 6, even though I have an inkling of going to the Thunder in Game 6 and then finishing it off on the road. But the Pacers have proven to me, like, time and time again, you cannot, you know, you can't doubt this team too much. Every time you think the series is over, they're able to turn it back on. So, yeah, I think they played really good in these, especially in Game 3 and Game 4. They just weren't be able to close the deal. 2-2 was fine, but this is just kind of just the life that the Thunder needed, the extra punch that the Thunder needed, and they let it get away. The Pacers did. TJ McConnell, big time performance. I mean, with Tyrese, I wish he played more in that fourth quarter because he was just in a flow state in that third quarter. I think he had like 15 or 16 points, and it was like CP3 type buckets too, whether it's just those little like pull-ups in the paint, whether it's just getting like maneuvering around the paint, getting that and ones. TJ McConnell was literally yelling at the Thunder defense, "You have to effing guard me." That's what TJ McConnell did. And he played such a big role there. Shout out to him. He was absolutely massive. But yeah, like I mentioned at the top when talking about the Pacers, we know someone else is going to produce. We don't know who, but we know someone else is going to produce. Now we got to look at Tyrese. How is he going to do it? Let's go preview the next two games. The keys to the chip for the Thunder. Enter the game with that playmaking mentality. I feel like when you look at game 1 and then you look at game 4, I feel like we got too much of the your turn, my turn. Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yes, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did such a good job in that fourth quarter in game 4, but I felt like when you look at game 2 and especially game 5, when the ball is humming, when the focus of the team is to get people open, get people involved, that's when we see the Thunder at their best. And we saw that in those two games. 20 plus assists. I know they had like more assists in that first quarter, more assists in the first quarter yesterday, or on the Monday night game 5, than they did all of game 4, which is absolutely crazy. So yeah, get everyone that playmaking mentality, play inside out. You have shooters on the team. They've proven that Alex Caruso can hit threes consistently. Aaron Wiggins has been able to hit threes consistently throughout the series. Casey Wallace in that game 5. Inside out, man. Inside out basketball. That's where the Thunder are thriving. They're able to hit threes in transition. They've been absolutely fantastic there. So play the inside out game. That's huge for the Thunder. Besides that, I had to drink some water there. Hard defense. Get your two guys involved. I mean, just continue to ride out Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They've been phenomenal over these last few games. Keep going to them. You have the more talented team, and especially with a hampered Tyrese Halliburton, there's your chance to close it out on the road. I know there's like these game 6s where you look at the Warriors series, when you look at we've many times in NBA history where you have like that game 6 on the road, kind of phone it in a little bit, so you're like, you know what, we'll be fine. We can take this at home. You don't want that. You want to try and clear out this game on the road. Do it in game 6. Do what the Raptors did. Step on their throats. For the Pacers, Hallie needs to stray away from the offensive flow sometimes and just be the flow. Again, Tyrese Halliburton, if he's playing, you got to continue to play with Tyrese Halliburton. You can't just be there you could decoy yourself at times, but we need you to be that guy in order for them to be able to win this game. We've seen that throughout the playoffs. When Tyrese Halliburton plays well, this team usually wins. It's a pretty basic formula. So you need to have a good Tyrese Halliburton game, even if it means disrupting the flow of the offense, letting Tyrese to be Tyrese, tell him to go out of his comfort zone. Howie needs to be that guy. Turnovers need to be limited. I didn't even get to talk about this much in the last few games. 22 turnovers just on game 5 for the Pacers. Unacceptable. We saw them have 24 turnovers in game 1, and it was surprising that we were able to win that game. But lightning doesn't strike twice at the same spot. So you got to limit the turnovers, especially against a Thunder team. You force 11 turnovers out of the Thunder, there's no reason you should be doing double of that. But the Thunder defense is just so damn good that they take a Pacer team who is known for not being able to turn the ball over, even though they play such a chaotic style of basketball. When the Thunder just take it out of you, and man, they've been just making it hell for the Pacers, especially for the Pacers perimeter guys, for sure. Other things they have to do. Others need to have the game of their lives. We need another big TJ McConnell game. We don't need to have another bad Ben Mathurin game. Those guys need to have fantastic games. And Siakam, just a Siakam minutes. Make sure that he gets more minutes there in the fourth quarter. And last but not least, throw everything at the wall. Give it everything else you got. This is where you have to be. You know what? We have to throw out every other chance we got in the book. Who cares about next year? Who cares about we want to do this for a special time? This is a special time. The NBA Finals. Whatever you have left, whatever you. Some people are making fun of the freaking Pacers voodoo magic. Do whatever you can. Try and win these games and throw everything you have at the wall. Make sure you don't leave any stone unturned. Do whatever it takes, man. Do whatever it takes. And again, this requires everyone to be at their best, to play and again step out of their comfort zone, be able to play the best version of Pacer basketball. Tyrese has to be leading that, and the other guys have to follow suit. The other guys have been following suit for the majority of the ride. Tyrese Halliburton, again, we're looking at you. You need to step up in this one. But yeah, Game 6 should be huge. I'm really hoping for a Game 7 because I feel like we can be in for a classic Game 7 if it happens. But if I had to go with some sort of prediction, I will say that the Thunder would win in 6. That was my prediction before the series. It feels like it's really playing out the way that I thought it was going to. Now let's see if the Thunder can finish it off. But again, the Pacers, you can never count them out. Shout out to them. Hopefully Tyrese Halliburton is back and he's able to play. They have a long road ahead of them if they're able to win Game 6. They can. I can't fully doubt them. They're never out of it. But this Thunder team, man, they've been really good. They've been good Game 5 and in Game 4. It feels like this is like the time they finally get to close the door on the series. Let's move on to the next topic. And this doesn't usually really happen in the NBA Finals. Yes, what's crazy is there was 2 trades that happened in the NBA Finals, and one of them involved the NBA Finals team. I'm going to talk about that quickly. The Pacers trading away their 23rd overall pick to the Pelicans for, I think, the rights to their 2026 pick next year, as well as they also traded away the rights to some dude from the NBA G League the night before. But basically, what that trade did for the Indiana Pacers is now they're able to trade any of the picks from the next 6 years after this season. So, good move for them. At least they have a bit more flexibility in terms of making trades. But it is the trade that everyone's talking about. And a trade's a trade, right? Maybe you might have this sort of trade happen before the NBA draft, the Pacers moving out, some team moving into the first round, yada, yada, yada. But to see someone like Desmond Bane, an all-star college player, get traded in the midst of the NBA Finals, it's kind of crazy. To the point where when I saw this news happen, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, trades can happen during this time, right? And yeah, basically the trade details are here. The Orlando Magic trade 4 unprotected first-round picks, including a pick swap. I think it's top 2 protected in 2029. They trade 3 of their own picks, including this year's pick, the 16th pick. And as well as the Suns pick next season. So the 4 first-round picks, KCP and Cole Anthony, in exchange for former 2 guard of the Memphis Grizzlies, Desmond Bane. Big time trade. The Magic. I'm going to start with the Magic here. You got to start with the Magic because they got the best player in the trade. But they finally addressed the guard position that we've been asking them to do for years. Man, we finally get to see a star guard there in the Orlando Magic. And what's a crazy stat? I heard this on the freaking Zach Lowe show when he first reacted to the trade. But the Orlando Magic have not had a top 20 offense since 2012. Since the Dwight Howard days. Like, what? They haven't had that good of an offense in that long. And I think that has to do a lot with their lack of guard play. Like, I'm just thinking of some of the guards they had, like leading up to this moment. I mean, Desmond Bane, yes, he hasn't made an all-star team, but I mean, it's in the loaded West. It's hard to make it amongst a bunch of great guards. But the Alfred Paytons of the world, the DJ Augustines, the Anthony Black, but all these guards just coming in and out of the Orlando Magic system. I just thought about Markelle Fultz. But now they have a legitimate shot-creating elite 3-point shooting guard, which we've been begging them to get for such a long time. This is why me and Jay have been fantasizing the Magic trading for Zach LaVine when he was in trade rumors earlier this year. So, in terms of fit on this team, fantastic. Desmond Bane, super efficient, at his peak, a 43% 3-point shooter. He can play make. He's a damn good playmaker. We've seen a lot more of that because John Morant has been injured a lot these last couple of years. We've seen a lot more playmaking skills from Desmond Bane, and he's actually pretty good. amazing shooter, not an offensive liability too. And this is why, like, when we were trying to fantasize trades for the Orlando Magic, we knew that they needed this, playmaking, scoring type guard. We were thinking, Zach LaVine, Trae Young, Darius Garland, etc. Anthony Simons as well was in the mix. But we were thinking of these guys, but to a to some sort of extent, all these guys are defensive liabilities. Not the best defensively. Trae Young, Garland, especially Anthony Simons too. Desmond Bane, not a liability on defense. He's a stocky frame. This guy is an above average defender for a guard. And he's not going to take anything away. Like, it's not like you're removing anything from that Magic defense. Maybe you're going to lose the length of KCP for sure. But you would happily remove that if it means getting a 40+% 3-point shooter, which KCP could not do. That's the reason why they brought him in the first place. But they have now the shot creation. They have that guard play next to Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. I think it's a great move. I think it's fantastic. I know people are going to be like, oh, 4 first-round picks. Bro, these 4 first-round picks, they're not going to be that good. You're going to have, like, Desmond Bane, Paolo Banchero, and Franz Wagner throughout most of these years during when these 4 first-round picks are going to happen. The Suns pick, yes, you can't control it, but it's still going to have Devin Booker. It's not going to be like at the worst, it's going to be like a bottom-end lottery pick. It's like, these picks are not going to be great. And I think this is like very similar to when the Raptors like made the trade for Pascal Siakam. Yes, we got 3 first-round picks. We all knew they weren't good. One of the picks turned to be Jacoby Walter, which I'm very happy about. But one of those picks turned into be the 23rd pick this year, which the Pacers ultimately traded. It's another pick, in another, I think, 2 years for the Indiana Pacers. And they're still going to probably be good at that time. So even though they did trade for first-round picks, not the best 4 first-round picks. And now you're in an East where the Celtics aren't fully healthy. There's a lot of question marks with a lot of the top teams, whether it's the Knicks, the Cavs, the Bucks. The Magic decided, you know what? This is the year. We're going to go for it. Whether this is going to work or not, we're going to have to wait and see. But if Powell could truly be this number 1 guy, we already know how great this defense is. This could be a scary bunch. And I'm not saying that they're going to be able to make a finals run like the Pacers this year, but we've seen unexpected final runs before. Who knows what happens? But I just think that Desmond Bane, yes, you have to give up a lot. Yes, do I think it's an overpay? I mean, when you compare it to like Mikal Bridges, who got 5 last year, Gobert, who got multiple a couple years prior, I think it's pretty decent value. I think it's market value at least. And I think it's, again, when you think of fit, when you think of not being able to take away anything from your defensive end, being able to get that shot creation at the guard position, it's not many guys that you can really like realistically trade for. And Desmond Bane was able to be one of those guys. I think that's a good deal for them. I'm still unsure about the center position, but they're definitely in a better spot. And when you have guys like Wendell Carter Jr., hopefully Mo Wagner's healthy next year, they have a pretty deep center rotation. Hopefully something can happen there. And again, this actually shows that the East, they see real opportunity now that the Celtics are not at the top of the food chain. So shout out to the Magic for making a big move. The Grizzlies, I think they won this trade too, because eventually, I mean, I don't know if like I talked about this. Maybe I talked about this to Jay like personally, but I truly believe that this Grizzlies big 3 of Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant was not going to win an NBA championship. I think me and Jay talked about this before the playoffs started. And I said that eventually, I didn't know if it was going to be this offseason or not, but one of these big 3 were going to be traded. I thought that then maybe with the new head coach, they're going to try some stuff out before potentially they give the idea of making a trade. But they got max value for Desmond Bane. KCP, could it be a reclamation project? Who knows? I mean, like, obviously you're not going to get, Nuggets KCP. I mean, when you're a role player and you play with Jokic, you just play your best basketball. So I don't know if they're going to get that version of KCP, but it can't be much worse than last year. That's all I'm saying with him on the Magic. It can't be much worse. So you can potentially use him in a trade, or if he actually works out for you, that's actually not too bad of a pickup. You get 4 unprotected first-round picks, including the Suns pick next year. Who knows how... I mean, if the Suns actually turn out to be a disaster, that could be really nice for the Grizzlies. But 2 more unprotected first-round picks in 2028 and 2030, and then 6 years, 16th pick, which is super interesting to me because a lot of the guys that Jay and I have talked about being drafted around here could be really good for the Memphis Grizzlies, in my opinion. When you look at, oh man, this is the guy. This is one of Jay's guys. That's why I'm super happy that maybe he has a chance to go to Memphis. Yo, Cedric Coward on the on the Memphis Grizzlies sounds like a match made in heaven. He could go anywhere from like 12 to 20. I think if he's there for the Memphis Grizzlies, that is massive. A great catch and shoot 3-point shooter, athleticism, great off ball defender, crazy good wingspan, ridiculous upside. Like, bro, like he is just someone that could fit right in and could play big minutes right away. This is the type of team that fits Cedric Howard perfectly. I just didn't think it was going to be a possibility because obviously the Magic didn't have that big of a pick going into it, so it didn't have a pick at all. So now now during this range, someone like Cedric Howard, who me and Jay are both big fans of, that could be another good place for him. That's all I'm saying. Maybe someone like a Will Riley could be there as well. I think that could be something pretty interesting. Kasparis Yakashonis, I don't know if they want to play with him next to John Morant. There's just a lot of great guys you can go with here, man. Rasheer Fleming, who's been jumping a lot of draft boards. There's some options here, and especially in a deep draft like this, who can give you like a lot of great role players, who can give you guys who just could be in the NBA for a long time. I think that the Grizzlies having like a middle of the first round pick they have a good chance if they hit on the right guy can perform for them right away. Cedric Howard, though, that is now the number one team I want to see get Cedric Howard. I think that would be really good. But also for this Grizzlies team, is there a bigger trade incoming? You have now a lot of more draft capital. We've been wanting to see them address that small forward position for years. Is it coming? Is it finally coming? Is this trade finally coming? I don't know. Maybe they're just like waiting for these assets just in case Giannis finally asks out. That's one of the theories I have in my mind. Where maybe it's December, January, and Giannis is like, oh man, I don't know if I want to deal with this losing stuff for the next 3 to 4 years. Maybe I should ask for a trade now. And then the Grizzlies have the assets; they could do some. They could do something there with trading like a Zach Edey, some other guys too. But the Grizzlies could be in the mix. I think they have assets to make just something bigger happen. And I don't know if that's something that's going to happen this offseason, but they have it in their back pocket now. So if again a big star asks for a trade, come to trade deadline, maybe next offseason, they have the pick treasure chest to do so now. So I think both teams did win. If I want to say one team made out the other, you can't really say until Desmond Bane does end up playing for the Orlando Magic. I love his fit though. I think it's a good trade for both sides. I really do think so. Especially if the Grizzlies are able to like flip these picks for something bigger. Maybe they like hit on someone big like a Cedric Howard. There's a lot of good things that could come from the Grizzlies here. And they got a lot more cap flexibility because obviously Cole Anthony's going to be on the last year of his deal. 2 more years for KCP, but the money's going to be a lot bigger relief. And now you can just focus on trying to build around John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. I think they're going in a good direction. I think the Magic are going in a good direction taking this risk. I think this trade really benefits both teams. I think it's really good for both. Moving on to the next topic and the final segment of this show, we're going to be going into the prospect spotlight. And you know how this goes. Me and Jay usually give you one player each, talk about what we like about them, see kind of the range that they could get drafted to, and think of just some dream team scenarios where you want to like see some of these prospects end up landing into. But since Jay's not here, I gotta cover for him, guys. I'm gonna end up covering for him, and I'm gonna give you guys 2 prospects today. Usually I go like later into the second round, maybe late first round. But I have some guys who were, at some point, lottery contenders. Maybe they're projected just outside the lottery and stuff like that. But there's 2 guys that I'm really interested in that I'm going to share with you guys today. They might come back up when we do our NBA mock draft eventually, but I'm going to be talking about these 2 guys in particular. So, first guy I want to talk about, and I'm going to tell you a backstory why I want to talk about this guy is because whenever I did NBA simulations back in the day, whenever I got to this year, 2025, this guy was always such an intriguing prospect to me because he was a tall point guard who had just fantastic passing skills. And for some reason, every time I moved him to like a 2 or a 3, he would just go crazy in terms of development. I don't know if you guys know who I'm talking about. I feel like I'm not saying it's a unique experience, but only few people would kind of like do that, especially when you do so many rebuilds. But I want to talk about Edgar Denman, the guy who played for the BYU Cougars last year. He previously played for Real Madrid. He moved again here overseas. And man, I want to talk about him because I felt like more than anything, I was like, man, no one's talking about Edgar Demon as much as I thought they would. I thought this guy was going to be a potential top 10 pick. And now I've seen like mock drafts where he's like at number 12. Some of them go as low as 19. And I'm like, let me go into him and let me see what I like about Edgar Demon. And I still like a lot of things about him. Here's some of the things I like about him, though. One, good size. 6'9", point guard, shooting guard. You can even play him small forward. I think he has good size for an NBA point guard where it's not like, yes, he has some deficiencies, which I'm going to go into later. But I think that having having good size out there, not being like, completely like completely movable on the defensive end. I think he's like not great, but he's also not horrible. I think that's going to play well into his favor. But what's really great about Edgar Demon, and this is what I saw when I did those simulations, but now when I like went and did my homework on his play style, it's even like just as good as I thought. Because what I'm really excited for and what's going to translate to me in the NBA right away is his passing ability. It's elite, guys. It is absolutely elite. At a 6'9" guard who plays very well out of pick and roll. This man has like the zip on his pass that you see from like a year 5 Steve Nash, from a Nikola Jokic. It's like such a rare talent for someone, especially this young, coming out of college. Like, I think already, like, this guy's like passing ability is going to be absolutely elite. I think he has this great IQ, has good feel for the game, whether it's trying to hit guys in the corner for the three, hitting those pocket passes in order for the big to get a good dunk. He's even good at just finding guys at the rim and throwing those lobs. I think that he's just going to have such a big role and just a good place in this league with his passing ability. I don't know if he's going to be able to play the one full time because once I go into his weaknesses, you'll see why. But I think that his playmaking ability is just too good to not take a chance on him, because you can work on some other stuff, yeah, but this like feel for the game, this IQ that you get from from a 6'9" guard coming out of college is rare when it comes to this. So shout out to his playmaking ability. It's really good. The other thing I like about him, although he wasn't a great shooter in college, is shot mechanics. I talked about this with Noah Segay, talking about this. I forgot what some of the other prospects I brought up in the prospect spotlight, but even though he's not a great 3-point shooter, the mechanics are there. I think with just a little bit of tinkering here and there, not completely changing his shot, I think he could be a reliable 3-point shooter eventually. I'm not going to say right away. I still think he's raw in terms of that aspect of his game, the 3-point shooting. But he has the mechanics where it's not going to be a complete wash. It's like, man, this guy's never going to get good at 3-point shooting. I think he could get there. And the mechanics so far that I've seen from him, I think this stuff can be tinkered with. I think he could be good enough eventually. Now let's go into the weaknesses. Not a strong handle. I've seen this guy, especially with like pitbull like guards. Like, you think of a TJ McConnell that he's going to end up facing against when you think of these like guards that would just like be relentless 94 feet down the court. I don't think he's going to be good at handling that right away in terms of pressure, keeping the dribble alive. I don't think he's going to, like, the handle's just not there right now. He doesn't do well versus physicality. The jump shot, like I mentioned, not very consistent. I think he was like 27% from 3 at the college level. The mechanics are there, but he just needs to get more consistent at that. And I think with NBA shooting coaches and all that, he could get better, especially with the form he has right now. Defensive consistency could be better. I think he could be like an average to a slightly above average defender eventually, with his size, with the fact that he is, not the most athletic, but I think he's able to stay in front of dudes using his length. I think that could be good eventually. I don't think he's great at like moving off ball, and I think that's going to be interesting because if you want him to play point guard, you're going to need to have a team that's going to let him make all these mistakes and continue to learn from them. But if he does get drafted to a team where they already have an established point guard, they're going to ask him to play the 2 or 3. I don't know how well he's going to do off ball. Whether it's cutting, whether it's being able to hit the 3-point shot, I don't know. But it's definitely a concern for sure. And also the explosiveness. Like, whenever you touch the rim, yes, he's 6'9". Yes, he has good ability to get to the rim at times, but it doesn't really explode off the ground. He doesn't have a great first step. And I don't think it's like, especially when he goes against like NBA level defenses, grown men at the center power forward position, I don't know how well he's going to do against contact or just trying to finish through contact. That's going to be my issue for him. So basically, when I look at Edgar Demon, elite passer, but in order for him to like really showcase that passing, he needs to be more of a scoring threat, so that's going to open up the game and let his biggest skill, which is the playmaking, be shown. Because he's an excellent playmaker. The amount of crazy passes that I see that he may go that I haven't even seen NBA players do, it's pretty is insane. I think he's going to be a really good player, but there's two ways I could see like the draft going for him. He's either going to go to a team which is willing to take a chance on him and try to develop him as a point guard. And I think like if you want him to reach his ceiling, if you want him to be that all-star level player that I thought that he was going to end up being like 3-4 years ago, I definitely didn't know better. But you're going to need someone who's going to let him make mistakes. So that's one way you're going to be able to go with that. The other way I could see it is that he could maybe transition to a role like a Joe Ingles, a Kyle Anderson type of role, where playmaking is a big part of their game, but he might just end up being like a really good role player, seventh, eighth man on the bench. But I don't know if, especially when you want to take a chance with someone like him in the draft, you don't want to take that swing thinking that's what you're going to turn him into. You want to use a passing ability. You want him to be on ball because that's where he's going to be at best. My player comp for him, Josh Giddey. I think Josh Giddey was better offensively coming into the league, better than Edgar Demon, especially when it came to scoring the basketball, playing in the professional league. I know Edgar Demon did too, but he did end up playing in college as well. But Josh Giddey, if you remember the scouting report, he's not great at this, he's not great at this, like basically every aspect of basketball. But he's okay, he's pretty good. You know, he was a good passer, solid scorer, but he wasn't like, we just didn't know like how great he was going to be. Now we see him with the Chicago Bulls, great playmaker, has gone better at attacking the rim, being able to find his spots. I could see Edgar Demon like being able to like once he gets into his NBA body, understands like how to use his length and his tall stature. I think he can like find his way in the offensive end. I don't think it's a complete loss for him. So I think just like how Josh Giddey was when he first got to the Thunder, where there wasn't many guys to really take opportunities away from him, I think that he could be best served in a place where you're like, okay, we can take a chance on someone like Edgar Demon to be our potential guard of the future, the point guard of the future. So here's the teams I'm thinking. 1, the Brooklyn Nets. They have a lot of guys who want to take a shot. Edgar Demon could go in there and just set those guys up. I think that would be absolutely fantastic for a team like the Brooklyn Nets. They have like 5 first-round picks. If they could use one of them for Edgar Demon, I think that would be a great, upside sort of pick to be like, okay, we have a potential unicorn here at point guard who already has elite passing abilities. If we could get him to tap into his scoring ability, be a average to a slightly above average defender, we can have something special here at Edgar Demon. I think the Brooklyn Nets can take a chance on that. The other team, the Utah Jazz. I know they drafted Isaiah Collier next year, but I don't know how much he's going to be, their point guard of the future. Take chances on the upside, man. Try to get the best player available, and Edgar Demon could be that guy. I don't know if if he's going to be able to, like, obviously they're not going to take him at number 5, but if he's there at 21, some people have this guy slipping a whole lot. Maybe someone, team like the Utah Jazz, could take a chance on someone like him. Maybe a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves too, to learn under Mike Conley, I think would be great. But I don't want to just draft Rob Dillingham and all that, so that's kind of a messy situation. But I wouldn't mind Edgar Demon going there as well, so that wouldn't be a bad shout for me. I just think that if you're gonna go draft him, and if you want to draft him to be a potential star for you, you're gonna have to take a chance, and you're gonna have to let him again make some mistakes his rookie year, but hopefully he'll grow from that. So that's the first guy I want to talk about. The second guy, Rasheer Fleming. Oh boy, let's talk about Rasheer Fleming from St. Joseph's. This guy, I am just intrigued by his game because I feel like he can just produce. He's the type of guy, and especially watching these NBA Finals, I see how good. And I'm gonna give you my player comparison now. I see how good Obi Toppin is for the Indiana Pacers and how big of a role he's been able to play in these NBA playoffs up to the NBA Finals. He's had a big Finals game as well when you go back to Game 4. Rasheer Fleming could be that type of player. I truly believe so. This guy plays with hustle. This guy is pretty athletic. This guy has just good work ethic. And he's been able, like, to the point where I think, like, this is, like, one of the biggest things I know is with him. When he started playing college, 30% three-point shooter. He was taking like 4.5, a few attempts per game and stuff like that, but he wasn't being able to do it. Junior season, he comes in 4.5 attempts, 39% from 3. He works on his game. He knows that it'll benefit the rest of the team. It'll benefit, the guards if he's able to be a 3-point threat, and he was able to grow into that. He's a 6'9" wing with a 7'5" wingspan. This is the perfect build for someone who you want to be who wants to be a power forward in the modern NBA. He's athletic. He can hit the three ball at a good clip. He can guard multiple positions. I talked about the work ethic, and he is plays very well in transition. High motor, competitive edge, um, sometimes to his detriment. I mean, he does make a lot of silly fouls and all that, but again, these are mistakes you can make as a rookie. Once he gets used to NBA basketball, he'll definitely get better at that. But he's constantly active. 1.5 blocks per game, 1.4 assists. Sorry, 1.4 steals. Great rebounder, and I think he could be someone who could play full time at the four, but you could also be a little bit sneaky with him and play some. Because of his off ball defensive abilities, he could play really well as like a small ball five, not as like a starter, but like in certain situations of the game, as you can see, with Nas Reed for the Timberwolves starting at the center position, you can see something like that. Weaknesses: this guy can't create his own shot. I think from what I've seen, this guy, like in terms of his dribbling ability, does not look comfortable. Like he doesn't hold the ball much for more than like 3 or 4 seconds before he tries to find a guard again. So in terms of creating his own shot, creativity on the dribble, does not have that. In terms of off-ball movement, I think he relies too much on the point you're getting the ball, the guards getting him the ball. That if there's something he needs to work on and what's going to make him super valuable at the next level is being able to find their spots, make sure to when to cut into the dunker spot, find those like open spaces on threes. If he's able to work on that on a consistent basis and be like a threat like an Aaron Gordon, like a Jaden McDaniels, like all these guys who have proved to be key players on contending teams, he's going to have a long time in this league. Creativity, like I mentioned, defensive discipline. I think that a lot of his strengths, a lot of his weaknesses are stuff that, you live and you learn in the NBA. And after a while, you're going to be like, oh, he's 25, 26 years old. This guy's a key part to a championship team. This is how I see someone like a Rasheer Fleming going. I'm a huge fan of his game. He does a lot of things well. I don't think he has like the ceiling, especially with his lack of creation on the ball, to be like a star player. But like I mentioned with Noah Senge, like I mentioned with some of these other guys, this is a guy that could be in the NBA for such a long time. But I think he's more of a guarantee there, more than a Noah Senge, more than some of these younger prospects. He's gonna be turning 21 in a couple in next month. And I think he's going to be able to help, especially if you're a team in the mid lottery, maybe in the high teens, early 20s, that you could get this guy, and he's going to be able to be a key part of your team right away. I mentioned my player comp for him is Obi Toppin. I think with Obi Toppin, he came in as a very athletic dude. Obviously, people love seeing his dunk mixtape at the time. He won an NBA dunk contest, but he's been able to improve his three ball. He's been able to work really well his off ball movement, do the little things on the offensive end. I think that he could do that too, but has a higher ceiling defensively, which is good to see. I think he just has such a high floor that he's gonna have that perfect play style that a lot of teams want. But here's some teams I think that would be really good for him. I think that he's gonna go anywhere from the late lottery to the early 20s. Some teams I want to see pick him up. The San Antonio Spurs. There's a lot of rumors about them trying to trade away that 14th overall pick if they end up keeping it. Rasheer Fleming, he'll fit right in. Another team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I hate to say it. I think he could be really good for them. Again, someone who you're not going to be able to keep all these guys on forever. You're not going to be able to pay all these guys. So you want to have some rookies that are going to be able to, produce right away. Like you had AJ Mitchell this year, but he wasn't in the finals rotation. But Rasheer Fleming, I think he can play a big part of your team next year. I think he can actually work his way into the rotation eventually in his first season. So I have those two teams. The Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know if they have a pick in this draft. I don't think they do. But if they want to trade into the first round, hey, Rasheer Fleming, that would be a dream place for him to go to. And the Orlando Magic, who I made this before before the trade happened, but I think if he's there at 25, obviously take him. If the Orlando Magic want to get him too, I think that would be a great. Oh, sorry. If the Memphis Grizzlies want to get him at number 16 as well, I don't think that's a bad choice. I know I mentioned Cedric Howard, but Rasheer Fleming could be really good in that position as well. So yeah, overall, when I see when you look at Rasheer Fleming as a kind of an overall consensus sort of thing on him, you see the way that he plays, and you could just see his play style working on some of just the big contenders in the league. You see how Obi Toppin, Jalen McDaniels, the Thompson twins, Kendrick Williams, all these guys are able to play big roles in finals rotations. You can see Rasheer Fleming being in that role. Maybe he becomes even better than he thinks, and I think like on the high end, from like what I saw from some of the reporters, he could be like another version of Pascal Siakam. I don't think he can have the offensive creation that Pascal has, but if he could be just one of the best role players in the league, be able to be either that fifth starter or one of those key guys coming off the bench, that's massive. And you don't need to want the depth, because when you look at both the Thunder team in the finals that we have here, the Indiana Pacers, one of the biggest things that we compliment them on is how good their depth is. And when you want to and when you have these opportunities at these first round picks, if you're contenders, you want someone like Rashawn Fleming on your team, especially if you have aspirations to go deep in the playoffs. So I think both of these two prospects are good. Edgar Demon and Rasheer Fleming, obviously both on two sides of the spectrum. You want one guy to be a potential star, where Rasheer Fleming could fit on every other team. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts down below, whether it comes to the finals, whether it comes to the Desmond Bane trade, any of the prospects I mentioned here today. Let me hear your thoughts down below. Man, I've been talking here for an hour. Damn, I haven't done this in so long. But I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, man. It's been a while since I've been able just to come out here, talk by myself, just some basketball. Usually have Jay across from me. That's why we have some really good back and forth. Unfortunately, schedules didn't line up this time, like I mentioned off the top. But next time we do the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, it's gonna be me and him. Probably gonna be reacting to the winner of the NBA Finals, doing our NBA mock draft, all that good stuff, man. It's gonna be a great episode when he does come back. But again, thank you guys for watching this episode, where I just get to sit here and just talk hoops, talk about the NBA Finals, the trades, and just prospects coming into this NBA draft. I'm super excited for what the NBA has to offer. Sorry I didn't get to talk about WNBA. I'm definitely going to do that when we're definitely going to get the topic in when Jay does come back. But yeah, great episode. I'm super excited for how the semifinals are going to turn out. Again, follow the Hit Your Free Throws on all the social media networks if you want to get our instant reactions and all of that. It's gonna be a good end to the finals, and hopefully the Pacers are able to make things a lot interesting. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you all have a fantastic day. This is TV, and I'm signing out. Peace.